where? Nigeria, Ghana,
South Africa.
moving away from the country or within the country?
Yeah, Africa. I am moving to Africa.
Is this due to pressure or?
Pressure from,
I mean, you know, the whole drama.
yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, that'll piss me off. I don't piss off.
I don't care about all that. I always wanted to spend some time in Africa.
He was actually found guilty of. So take a look. It was racketeering conspiracy, not guilty. 2 counts, not guilty. But transportation to engage in prostitution, 2 counts, he was found guilty. Now, of course, there was damaging reputational evidence throughout the trial, including domestic violence and the tales about the freak-offs and all that. Is it true, in your view, what his lawyers are arguing, that the sentence of 4 years in prison was too much?
Diddy's whole world just blew up this week, and I mean completely. Between leaked footage, new reports about a possible pardon request, tension with his legal team, and rumors that his family may be planning a move overseas, this has easily been one of the most chaotic weeks yet. And wow, Diddy definitely didn't see this storm coming. This is where we break down all the biggest updates from Diddy's wild week. And when I say chaos, I mean full-blown meltdown. From the 50 Cent documentary sparking even more controversy to new speculation around a possible pardon request that went nowhere, this week had everything.
Oh, for real? So where? Nigeria, Ghana?
Probably South Africa. Better living condition, better housing, overall safer to live than others.
Nigeria is great too. I got a couple of great properties in Nigeria.
And it doesn't stop there. There are also unconfirmed stories circulating online involving Mike Tyson and a letter connected to Diddy, plus updates on the strict court conditions that could apply in the future. On top of that, there are growing rumors that parts of Diddy's family may be considering leaving the country to escape the non-stop media pressure. Stick around, because by the end of this breakdown, you'll see why so many people believe Diddy's recent choices may have played a role in how quickly everything around him is changing. This week wasn't just bad, it felt like a major turning point. According to recent reports, Diddy remains in custody as his legal situation continues to develop. So let's get straight into it, because this story seems to be evolving every single day. And just to be clear, we're not going to spend time recapping the past. Most people already know the background. We're here for the new developments that have everyone talking right now. So let's start with one of the biggest stories making waves this week. The 50 Cent documentary didn't just spark controversy, it added another intense layer to an already complicated situation, and many believe it could have serious implications moving forward. Now here's where things get really interesting. Remember when it was mentioned that Diddy had hired a videographer? Well, according to reports, after his financial situation became more complicated, there were issues with payments to parts of the production team. That alone created serious tension, and a lot of work was suddenly put on hold. What happened next has been heavily discussed online. Some sources claim that the videographer later sold a large amount of raw footage to 50 Cent. That footage was then used as part of a documentary project that eventually appeared on Netflix. While the exact details haven't been fully confirmed, the story has taken on its own life. People were especially shocked by how raw the documentary felt. It appeared far less polished than what audiences usually expect, with moments that seemed unfiltered and emotionally intense. Instead of a carefully curated image, viewers felt like they were seeing a much more chaotic and vulnerable side of the situation. For many, this hit differently than past controversies. Even those who thought they already understood Diddy's public image said this time felt heavier and more impactful, adding another layer to everything that's unfolding.
Does the punishment fit the crime? I think that's going to be key. So when we look at this case, we have to think about what exactly Diddy was found guilty of. He was found guilty of transportation across state lines in order to engage in prostitution. Now, the prosecution was asking for at least 11 years in prison. However, Diddy wanted him to be released right away. So when we look at the actual charges, we have to remember that Diddy now is serving 50 months in jail. And so a lot of people believe that that in fact is fair, while Diddy is arguing that that is in fact excessive.
Now, here's another part of the story that's been circulating online. Some unconfirmed reports suggest that 50 Cent may have access to additional footage that was never included in the Netflix documentary. If that's true, it means there could still be material out there that hasn't been seen by the public. This possibility alone has added even more attention to an already intense situation, with many people wondering what, if anything, could surface next. At the same time, there's been a lot of speculation about how Diddy's legal team responded. Reports describe them as moving quickly to review their options and protect his interest, including raising questions about how the footage was obtained and whether it was authorized for use. These discussions have largely played out through media statements and legal commentary, rather than confirmed court rulings. On the other side, 50 Cent has publicly maintained that any material he used was acquired through legal means. That claim has become a major point of debate online, with different sides interpreting the situation in very different ways. As of now, there is no single publicly confirmed version of events that everyone agrees on. What makes this so unsettling for many people is the idea of private or behind-the-scenes moments becoming public, especially when control over that content is no longer clear. Even without confirmed details, the situation highlights how complicated and stressful things can become when personal footage enters the public spotlight. But one of the most talked about moments from the documentary is a scene that appears to show Diddy speaking with his attorney, Mark Agnifilo. In the clip, Diddy seems visibly frustrated, expressing concern about how things are going and questioning whether enough is being done on his behalf. The moment feels emotional and unfiltered, giving viewers a glimpse into the pressure and stress surrounding his legal situation. What made this especially surprising to many people is that, according to legal commentators, the case itself was not necessarily in the dire position that Diddy appeared to believe at that moment. In fact, there had already been important developments that worked in his favor. This contrast between perception and reality is what made the scene stand out so strongly.
Curtis, people know about this very public, long-standing feud that you've had with Sean Combs. So what brought you to this project? Well, was there anything that surprised you when you were watching?
No, that didn't surprise me at all.
How did you go about getting the footage? And do you know the intent of the videographer? Why?
When you're a reality star, you're so used to being able, you have a camera around you all the time, but when you have that kind of power and everything, I'm going to edit this.
There's also been a lot of online discussion about how this footage was recorded and how it ended up in the documentary. Some viewers have questioned whether everyone involved was aware of being filmed, while others have raised concerns about privacy and attorney-client boundaries. However, there's no publicly confirmed information explaining exactly how the recording was made or what permissions were in place at the time. Across social media, reactions have been intense. Many people have expressed sympathy for how complicated and uncomfortable the situation must be for both sides, especially when private conversations become part of a public narrative. It's a reminder of how messy things can become when personal high-pressure moments are exposed to the world. And just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any more complicated, the topic of a possible pardon started circulating online. This part has sparked a lot of discussion, mainly because of how serious and sensitive that process is. According to unconfirmed reports and online speculation, Diddy may have submitted a written request seeking a presidential pardon. There's no official public documentation confirming the details of such a request, and no verified statements explaining how it was handled. What is clear is that there has been no announcement of any pardon being granted or considered. When it comes to situations like this, the process is highly formal and entirely discretionary, and there is never any guarantee of an outcome. Without confirmed sources, it remains unclear what communications, if any, actually took place or how they were evaluated. As for Diddy's sentence, different reports have circulated about what prosecutors originally sought and what the final outcome might be. Those details are complex and depend on many legal factors. What has stood out to many observers, though, is the contrast between how serious the situation appears and how strongly Diddy continues to maintain his belief that he should not be serving any time at all. To some, this reflects confidence. To others, it feels like denial.
Overnight, lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs trying to stop the release of a Netflix docuseries due out today.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business.
The series contains never-before-seen footage of Combs debating strategy with his lawyers in the days leading up to his arrest in New York last year.
I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution.
Either way, it adds another layer to an already intense and emotionally charged situation that continues to unfold. But here's another story that's been making the rounds online, and is definitely one of the most talked about parts of this whole situation. It involves Mike Tyson and how the alleged letter may have been passed along in the first place. According to unconfirmed claims circulating on social media, Mike Tyson may have played a role in delivering a letter connected to Diddy. The story suggests that a mutual acquaintance who knew both of them asked Tyson for a favor, knowing he had access to high-profile spaces. However, none of this has been officially verified, and there are no public records confirming how any letter was actually delivered, if one existed at all. Some versions of the story say that Tyson was hesitant and uncomfortable being pulled into the situation, while others describe him as simply being caught in the middle of someone else's legal drama. Because there is no confirmed statement or documentation backing this up, it remains in the category of rumor and speculation rather than established fact. Still, the idea that such a serious matter could have been handled through personal connections instead of formal channels is what has made this story so intriguing to so many people online. Now here's why this part of the story has caught so much attention. The presidential pardon process is not simple, and it doesn't work like sending a single letter and waiting for a response. It's a highly formal system with strict legal procedures, and there are no shortcuts or guarantees involved. Every request is handled privately and entirely at the discretion of the president. Because of that, many people online have been questioning the idea that any informal approach would ever be effective. There is no legal way to promise or secure a pardon in advance, and no one can offer guarantees. Any claim suggesting otherwise would be inaccurate and misleading. This is why so much of the discussion around this topic remains speculative. Without verified information, it's impossible to know what strategy, if any, was actually considered or attempted. What is clear is that the process itself is complex, controlled, and never something that can be negotiated or rushed through personal connections. For many observers, this highlights just how misunderstood the pardon system is. It isn't something that can be hacked or fast-tracked, and there's no way to bypass its structure. That reality alone has made this part of the story one of the most debated and controversial. There have also been stories circulating online about how the letter may have been received, but none of them are supported by official statements or verified sources. There is no public information confirming how it was viewed, whether it was kept, or how seriously it was considered. Any claims about reactions, jokes, or private handling of such a letter remain speculation. What this situation really shows is how risky it can be to rely on assumptions or informal approaches when dealing with serious legal and political processes. Without transparency or confirmation, it's impossible to know what impact, if any, a single letter could have had. Everything beyond that is interpretation rather than fact. At the same time, many commentators have shifted the focus away from politics and towards broader reputation in the industry. Some people believe that long-standing issues around business practices and financial disputes may have contributed to how difficult things have become for him. These claims are based on past stories and industry talk, not court rulings, but they continue to shape public opinion. According to various reports and opinions shared online, Diddy has faced criticism over the years regarding payments and business relationships. Whether fully accurate or not, that reputation is now being revisited and discussed more than ever, adding another layer to the pressure surrounding his situation.
This morning, never-before-seen footage of Sean Diddy Combs in the days leading up to his arrest in New York last September.
Good stuff in my fanny bag.
The exclusive video obtained by Netflix shows Combs debating with his lawyers about strategy.
Listen to me. I'm going to get off the phone right now, and I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution. Hey, no matter what nobody said, let's just here and there, y'all are not working together the right way. We're losing.
The footage is...
Some people connect this way of thinking back to what happened with the videographer. According to online reports, payment disputes may have played a role in how that footage eventually changed hands, though the exact details remain unclear. What is certain is that financial disagreements and contract issues can quickly turn into much bigger problems when trust breaks down. The situation involving Cassie is also often mentioned in these discussions. That case followed its own legal process and was resolved through a settlement, but many see it as another example of how private conflicts can suddenly become very public. The circumstances around it were complex, and settlements themselves do not imply guilt, but they do show how serious disputes can escalate rapidly. Because of this, a lot of people feel that years of unresolved business tension, disputes, and controversy are now resurfacing all at once. Whether fair or not, past stories and industry talk are being re-examined under a much brighter spotlight. Looking ahead, even when Diddy eventually completes his sentence, his situation will likely remain closely monitored. Any release would come with strict legal conditions and ongoing supervision. Rather than a clean return to normal life, it would mark the start of a highly regulated period where his actions, finances, and associations would remain under careful scrutiny.
Any future release would likely come with a long list of strict conditions. In cases like this, courts often require participation in specific programs, such as counseling or rehabilitation courses, and impose limits on contact with certain individuals involved in the case. There are also usually restrictions around weapons, travel, and where someone is allowed to live. All of these rules are designed to keep close oversight and reduce the risk of further legal issues. In addition, financial activity is often more closely monitored under supervised release. This can include requirements to report income, disclose new bank accounts, and follow guidelines for large transactions. While the exact limits vary by case, the general idea is transparency and accountability rather than unrestricted spending. For someone who was once known for a very high-end lifestyle, that kind of structure can feel like a dramatic change. What used to be spontaneous and unrestricted becomes planned, documented, and regulated. Even everyday decisions can come with added layers of responsibility and reporting. So while release may sound like freedom, in reality, it often marks the beginning of a new phase that is highly controlled and carefully watched. Instead of returning to the life he once lived, it would mean adapting to a world where nearly every move is shaped by legal conditions and ongoing supervision. A lot of people online are speculating about how difficult parole or supervised release could be for him. Some believe adjusting to strict rules and constant oversight would be a major challenge, while others think he will have to be extremely careful to avoid any mistakes. These are only opinions, of course, and no one can predict how any individual will handle such a situation. There are also more extreme theories floating around, including ideas about major lifestyle changes or relocating far from the public eye. But again, these remain pure speculation and are not based on any confirmed plans or official information.
What are we learning about the conditions of Sean Combs' release? And is this all pretty par for the course, pretty standard?
Yeah, so look, a lot of these conditions sound pretty harsh, but they're pretty standard. Things, as you mentioned, like no contact with victims, also no contact with other criminals, no access to firearms, also unsupervised or visits, drop-in visits from probation officers at any time, mandatory employment. So many of these are standard. But what I do think is notable is the addition of required treatment programs. And it's not just one, right? It is domestic violence, but also mental health. The reason why it's so notable is because we all remember the defense described this as a modern love story.
Right now, what is known is that Diddy continues to pursue legal options related to his case. Reports suggest he has been selling assets and restructuring his finances in order to manage ongoing legal expenses. High-profile legal battles are expensive, and maintaining multiple appeals and defenses can put serious pressure on anyone's resources. Some observers believe this is simply a practical response to mounting costs, while others think it reflects a longer-term strategy to prepare for whatever outcome lies ahead. Either way, legal fees, settlements, and financial obligations can add up quickly, and it's clear that the financial side of this situation is just as intense as the legal one. With so many uncertainties still in play, much of what's being said remains speculation. What's certain
is that the combination of legal pressure, public scrutiny, and financial strain continues to shape every part of what happens next. What many people say is the hardest part of all this is the impact it's having on his family. There have been reports and online rumors suggesting that some of them may be trying to distance themselves from the situation and step away from the constant attention. With so much media pressure, it's understandable that people would want privacy and space.
Some sources have mentioned different countries being considered as possible places to stay, including parts of Africa, but none of this has been officially confirmed. These stories are based on speculation and unverified information, so they should be taken cautiously. There are also claims circulating that South Africa could be one of the places being considered for a fresh start away from the spotlight. Again, this remains rumor, not fact. What is clear is that the documentary and the ongoing controversy have put an enormous amount of pressure not just on Diddy, but on everyone connected to him. As for who might be organizing or guiding any family decisions, there is no confirmed information. Names and roles that appear online are based on assumption rather than public statements. The only thing that seems consistent is the idea that his family is trying to protect their own peace and privacy during an extremely difficult time. It's a painful situation either way. When someone is dealing with serious legal trouble, the emotional strain doesn't stop with them. It reaches their loved ones too, who often have to navigate the fallout quietly, away from cameras and headlines, just trying to hold their lives together. Many people feel that this situation is the result of a long chain of choices and controversies that have built up over time. From that perspective, what's happening now is seen less as a sudden shock and more as the outcome of years of complicated decisions and public scrutiny. At the same time, others point out that his family stepping back doesn't necessarily mean cruelty or abandonment, but rather a way of protecting themselves and trying to move forward in a very difficult moment. It's a reminder of how, when public figures face major legal and personal challenges, the impact often spreads far beyond just one person. The fallout can reshape entire families and relationships, whether people want it to or not. And just when it seems like the story couldn't become more complex, another high-profile legal battle has started drawing attention. Roc Nation, the company founded by Jay-Z, is currently involved in a legal dispute with attorney Tony Busby, and recent court filings have added new layers to that case. According to publicly available legal documents and reporting, part of the dispute involves questions about how certain confidential information was obtained and used. A lawyer named Marcy Croft has been mentioned in filings related to this matter, with arguments being made about access to sensitive client data and whether that access was appropriate. These claims are being contested in court, and no final conclusions have been reached. Right now, this remains an active legal process, with both sides presenting their positions. Like many complex legal disputes, the full picture will only become clear as the case continues and the court reviews all the evidence. In his response, Busby strongly questioned how that kind of confidential information could have been obtained in the first place. He argued that there was no clear or legitimate explanation presented for how private files or client contact details might have been accessed. Those statements reflect his position in the dispute, but they are still part of an ongoing legal argument rather than established fact.
And even though Combs was acquitted of the most egregious charges, it's really a message from the court saying there's really still something that is not right here. There's treatment that is required. There's issues that need to be resolved.
Can you tell us a little bit about his living conditions? Because I know that he's currently in Brooklyn, but he's actually asked to be moved to a federal facility. Why? What would that do to his living conditions?
Okay, so very specifically, he's requesting to be moved to Fort Dix, to a low-security prison.
Because of that, a number of theories have started circulating online. Some people have speculated about possible connections between different parties involved in the case, including Roc Nation and other legal firms. However, these ideas remain speculation. No court has confirmed any coordinated effort, and no findings have been made that prove any type of inside operation or organized attempt to damage Busby's firm. What is clear is that despite the controversy, Busby's firm continues to operate. He remains active in major cases, and there has been no official indication that his practice has been weakened or shut down by these allegations. For now, the legal process is still unfolding, and outcomes will depend on what can actually be demonstrated in court. As for the previous defamation lawsuit involving Jay-Z and Busby, reports have stated that it was dismissed. While some people interpret that as a significant moment in their legal history, it does not automatically define the motives or intentions behind any current disputes. Courts evaluate each case on its own facts and evidence. At this point, what exists are competing claims, legal strategies, and public interpretations. Until rulings are made, everything remains part of an active and unresolved legal process. There has also been an update involving the Jane Doe case. According to recent reporting, the accuser and her godmother have filed an appeal related to a monetary judgment that was entered against them. They argue that their claims should not be dismissed solely because of anti-SLAPP protections and maintain their position in the case. This means the matter is still active and continuing through the legal process rather than being fully resolved. As with many appeals, this opens the door to further court review and additional legal arguments from both sides. What ultimately happens will depend on how higher courts interpret the facts in the law. For now, it remains part of an ongoing and evolving legal situation. At the same time, some online discussions have started to suggest broader connections between different high-profile cases. People have speculated about whether the legal issues involving Roc Nation and the situation surrounding Diddy could intersect in any way. However, there is no confirmed evidence that these matters are formally linked, and no official statements indicating that the cases are being combined or investigated together. There have also been claims circulating that past business relationships in the music industry are being looked at more closely in general. It's important to note that reviewing historical partnerships, deals, or financial arrangements does not automatically imply wrongdoing. At this stage, there is no public confirmation of any findings, investigations, or conclusions involving shared business activity between these parties.
Right now, what exists is a mix of active legal cases, industry speculation, and public curiosity. Until there are official filings or announcements, any suggestion of deeper connections remains unproven and should be treated as discussion rather than fact. There's also been talk online suggesting that some of Diddy's former associates may be speaking with authorities. These claims are based on speculation and have not been confirmed by any official sources. In situations like this, rumors often spread quickly, especially when people assume that individuals are trying to protect themselves. But without verified information, it remains unclear who is involved or what role, if any, they're playing. Because of that, much of the industry appears cautious and quiet. When major legal matters are unfolding, it's common for people and companies to avoid public comment, especially if there is any chance their names could become connected to the situation. Silence doesn't necessarily imply guilt or involvement, only uncertainty. As for Jay-Z and Roc Nation, there have been no public statements linking them to any investigation connected to Diddy. Claims that their legal team is reacting to potential developments are purely speculative. Large companies and high-profile figures routinely monitor legal news and filings as a standard precaution, not because of any confirmed issue. What this really shows is how quickly a single case can spark broader speculation across an entire industry. Right now, there is no verified evidence pointing to a wider network of wrongdoing. What exists is a mix of ongoing legal processes, rumors, and heightened public attention that makes everything feel larger and more interconnected than what has actually been proven. It looks like this legal battle is far from being resolved. Cases like this often take a long time, and any financial outcomes or judgments usually come only after extended court proceedings. For now, everything remains in motion, and it's impossible to say how quickly or in what way things will be settled. What's clear is that there are still many unanswered questions. Between ongoing legal disputes, appeals, and public speculation, this situation continues to evolve. New developments could surface at any time, and the direction it takes will depend entirely on what happens in court, not on online predictions. Now I want to hear from you. How do you think this situation will play out? Do you believe Diddy will be able to adjust to strict legal supervision if that becomes part of his future? And do you think his family will eventually reconnect once things calm down? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss future updates. These stories keep changing, and we'll continue to follow them as new, verified information becomes available.